evening, we'll take one of these cages here that we built and we'll put it inside the cages where we're holding the cats. A good idea is to, the night before, get rid of the water, because otherwise when the cat's making a big fuss it'll spill all that. If you just leave the cat in the cage overnight and maybe take a towel and just drape it over the cage, because the cat will feel safe inside the cage, and just leave the door open a tiny bit like that, and the cat will guaranteed will try to get in there to hide. And then the next morning, nice and early before you catch the ferry across, you take the door to the cage and you just take it and you just plunk it over the edge of and keep your pressure on it. Get rid of the towel, and maintaining pressure on the door, take the cat right out, hold it up like that. So now it's the cat sort of sitting in the bottom of the cage there, and you have to keep some pressure on and put the elastics on. And you just, these are just dollar store elastics knotted together in sets of 2, just to lengthen them a little bit, and you just crisscross over several times like that. Usually 4 sets of elastics usually do it. So just like that.
And you're ready to go to the vet.
So that's ready to go. So we stack those all in the back of the car, take them over on the ferry, take them to Dr. Don. When he is finished with the cats, they'll come back in this condition, just like this, and then we just transport them back. We usually hold on to the cats for 2 or 3 days before we release them, just to let them heal up a little bit after their operation. So bringing them back, we usually just sort of aim the business end of the cage inside the cage here, undo all the elastics like that, and then if you just kind of put your hand over there, get ready with the door, you can usually just kind of pull the door off, the cat will bolt out and you slam the door shut, and that's pretty much done. And then in the end, when the cats actually get released, all we do is open up the door, and they know where to exit here. So they'll get out by themselves. So they'll eventually disappear.
So that's a little tiny door that goes out to your yard.
Yeah, and it's about, I don't know if you can see how big that is, but it's about 3 inches across from here to here, and probably only about 5 inches up and down. That seems to be big enough for any cat to get through, but not for raccoons to get through.
So do all the cats get released out that way, or does some get driven out
the ones
in other places?
Where people agree to set up feeding stations where we actually catch the cats, then we'll actually drive the cats in the cages to the places to release them from the travel cages to the sites. But in places oftentimes people don't want them back, so we generally just release them here and we become a feeding station here.
Right.
So this room becomes the feeding station, but we keep the door that's right here shut all the time during the night, day and night actually. So this room is separate. It's a feeding station room, but they can't get into the rest of the house, trailer and mess it up. So keep it out of the workshop and that sort of thing. So, yeah. So
when you have the feral cats in here, you sometimes, that are recovering from surgery, sometimes you have your feral cats that you're feeding coming in and visiting with them, hey?
That's okay, yeah, that works out fine.
Yeah.
You know, they will still come. In that case, we do keep food and water for the feral cats, and blankets folded up to make beds. Usually a lot better to use this sort of thing instead of an actual cat bed, like a commercially made one, because these are easy, because feral cats are really messy. They don't, we actually put litter boxes in there, but oftentimes they'll miss the litter boxes and they'll actually poop and pee right on the blankets or the towels, and that way you can take them outside, shake them, and then throw them in the washing machine. Then you've always got fresh. It's a good idea to almost like cover most of the cage floor with towels for that reason, because otherwise things get really messy. They're not like tame cats at all. So they're basically like wild animals. So we keep food and water out here for the ferals that have been released that still come and feed during the night. and sometimes in the daytime, but especially at night. We find if I ever come into the trailer here for whatever reason during the night, you can hear them all scatter. You can hear scurrying in this room, and they'll all bolt out before I ever make it to the door. So I generally only ever see them outside. I'll never actually see them inside this room. But yeah, but as long as the door cages are shut, they're just simple little bolt catches here, and they just, you know, and a good idea is to have a little bulldog clip here, because you can put a little piece of paper, like a little card or something on here, that has the sex and age of the cat and whether it's pregnant or not. And then that information, we will actually take this card and we'll tape it to the top of these cages when these go to the vet to get spayed or neutered. They'll actually have the information, male or female, young, old, anything wrong with the cat, just so the vet would know, you know, what the state of the cat is, I guess. So that's about it. So there's about 6 cages here, but right now this one's open to the far one. So depending on how many cats you can have, you can have bigger cages, so they can roam from cage to cage, or you can separate them all up so you've got 6 separate cages. So yeah. One good thing to know too is when you trap cats in the neighborhood and you bring them in, it's a good idea to actually bring the entire cage in here, get yourself all armored with your cruiser suit,
Make sure
and
the door's
maybe some
closed.
eye protection and heavy welding gloves and stuff, because they can bite quite viciously.
Oh, yeah.
The bites are much worse than the scratches. And close this door so they have a limited place to escape. I would say when we're taking out of them, probably half the time they do escape within the room. But if you keep the area they can escape into very small, obviously this needs to be blocked off. When
We've
we do
always
that.
managed to catch them.
So that door closed, that blocked off. We close all the cages except for the one we want the cat to actually go into. And oftentimes we can actually chase the cat right
And
into
they'll
there.
go right in it.
So they'll actually go and hide right in there. So yeah. But that's
It's such a little room.
that's
I
about
thought you
all I
guys
can,
would be in the playhouse
think
by
of
now.
telling you right now.